welcome to another episode of Questionable Personalities. I'm Alex, and with me, as always, is Boris over on the other side. Squeezed into the room here. We are with Horror Show Jack.
Hello.
The Sultan of Incisors, the Master of Molars. What else do I have? Creator of Canines.
Oh.
And, of course, Matt.
Hello. My partner in crime. Questionable personalities. This is I'm gonna fit in so well. Usually I get nervous when someone wants. He's like, "Yeah, we want to interview her for your show. What's it for?"
Questionable personality.
I'm like, "All right."
We like to think of ourselves as questionable, but occasionally,
That was the really. Speaking of horrors, the horrifying reaction of Suzanne, the underdog, when we introduced the show.
Yeah.
And I totally did not realize that she would flip out with that name. So we said, like, oh, welcome to the first episode. She just flipped out. I am not a I'm like, no, not you, not you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like us.
You see,
We
Suzanne,
questions.
do not mention the name of the show.
Because we're not questioning her. We are questioning.
Yes.
We thought it was a good name, but apparently every time we used it, people had a really bad reaction to it.
Oh no! I got excited. I'm like, "All right, a show I belong on."
I figured you would. Right?
Oh yeah, of course.
So, you're a horror show, and that's how you got the name.
To say the least.
Well, how'd you get started with that?
How did you?
Where did you?
All right.
Were you 2 years old? You start making fangs?
I wish. No, I was always interested. Halloween grabbed me at a young age. I always loved October and monsters and everything. Grew up with the classics: Universal, Frankenstein, Bela Lugosi's Dracula, Godzilla, and everything like that. I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure Dracula, Bela Lugosi's Dracula, was the first vampire movie I ever saw, and one of the few random horror movies from my childhood that haunted me was Salem's Lot, and then when I saw Lost Boys, I'm like, I like vampires. So about 21 years ago, I got my very first pair of fangs, and honestly, I'm not even sure what the fang-maker's name is anymore. But I purchased them. I had them for about a year. Then they broke. Then I got another pair from another company, and then they weren't very good with business. I'm not going to badmouth them. I'm not going to say their name. But their fangs were good. Didn't last fully a year. But I'm fixing them with like nail glue and everything. And then I brought them to my dentist and said, "Hey, you wanted to see them?" And he goes, "This is dental acrylic. You know you could start your own business." So I toyed with the idea, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. And then been making fangs on a professional level I say professional for at least the last 10 to 12 years, but I've been making them for 19. So.
So when you turned 4.
Turned 41, man.
So it's just the Bela Lugosi started your whole thing?
Actually, I liked Bela Lugosi's Dracula. I mean, it's one of the classics. I actually like Frankenstein more.
I think Bela would be upset.
Well, yeah, because he hated Karloff.
Uh-huh.
But I was able to relate to the monster more. You know, he was the outcast, and growing up, I was an outcast. I didn't find my true extended family until much later in life. So
it's monsters in general.
Oh yeah.
But it's just harder to make head prosthesis as opposed to fangs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was a hobby that I started out. I originally had no intentions of selling them. I'm like, I'm just going to start making them for myself. So this way I don't have to worry about it. You know, if something breaks, boom, I'm right there, fix it up. But then my friend started like, I'll give you money, make me a pair. I'm like, all right. Then it was from late August to the beginning of November. I just get appointments. And then about 2007, I did my first convention. And then 2008, I started doing conventions with celebrity guests. And then in 2009, we started celebrities at shows started coming to us and getting fangs. and earned me a nickname that I did not give myself, but it was fang-maker to the stars. So I'm like, I've gotten a couple good nicknames. One woman called me the dentist of the damned. I'm like, ooh, that should be a band.
That should be a movie too.
Yeah, right. This guy just goes psycho. Every single one of his patients, he just makes them fangs, and they don't want them. Now they're his minions.
It's better than my nicknames.
That's what you get from cheap dental care.
Oh no, I didn't have any cool nicknames up until then. I think the coolest nickname I had as a kid was Lizard Man, because I had a whole array of lizards when I was in middle school and high school.
I've watched you make the fangs. How do you learn? Did your dentist train you?
He didn't train me. He showed me a few tricks. The first guy that made them right in front of me. And I'm a visual learner, but I'm also an experimental learner. I sat down and just went with it and tried it, and here I am. Like I would say every year my skill gets a little bit better. Mm-hmm. People will say you're a fang master. I'm like, I'm still learning. There's still ways to make it faster, make it easier, and make it quicker. I would say every couple of years I learn a few more tricks that make life that much easier. And then there's about 1,001 people that make life that much more difficult. But it's the most, out of all the jobs I've ever had, this is the most rewarding job I've ever had, because when I go to bed at night from a hard day's work or a hard weekend, because some weekends you just don't sleep until you get home on Monday. Matt knows all about that. Mm-hmm. I get Christmas cards from my clients. People who I wouldn't say I'm on a every first name basis with wish me happy birthday and stuff, and it's cool. It's just I'll go to places, and some of the celebrities that I'll go up and wait in line to meet, they know who I am before I get there, and it's this surreal feeling. It's like, I'm meeting you for the first. How do you know my name? I'm not famous. And people are like, yes, you are. I'm like, I really thought I would have been famous from America's Most Wanted, not from making fangs. I would have just lost it one day.
Well, first time I saw you, it was a post office, I think. I
That's, but that's not really that far from fiction, because I'm always mailing stuff.
So who would be your famous clients, or at least known clients?
I know you have a lot.
I've seen the
slideshow.
It's just like, who do I say first? Because I can't go through all of them. Because
who are your favorites?
Well, now you're gonna
who do I say first? I will say our new favorites. Just starting this year, Rose McCleve, Allie, her sister.
You should tell.
From the Goldbergs. The one who's married.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's in that new show's called Schooled.
Oh yeah,
and,
the blonde girl. Yeah.
And her sister, the three of the main characters from iZombie, and the main girl from Schooled, and we just got C.J. Graham, who played Jason in Friday the 13th Part 6. Jason Lives, and I mean, my social media has been going crazy since we made the Fangs for the People from iZombie, because they tagged me. I didn't know the whole cast is basically international. Like, Raoul's from the UK and Rose is from New Zealand. So they tagged me, and I've had people from all over 3 weeks ago, I was talking to someone from Iceland. They're like, I really want a pair of your fangs. And I'm like, this is going to get expensive. But I mean, I've made fangs for Tia Carrera, Vern Troyer. We in the last 2 years we've lost a couple of people who we got to make fangs for, like Vern Troyer and John. I cannot remember his last name to save the life of me, but he played the Toxic Avenger in Part 2 and 3, and I still haven't heard what he passed away from.
Oh,
so he wasn't that old, but I think
that New Jersey toxicity.
Well, and actually, I think he lived in New York.
That's what killed him.
Probably.
Jersey.
I do believe I could be mistaken. I never saw him drunk, but a lot of people said he hit the bottle pretty hard. So,
Well, in any case, it's sad stories.
Yeah. But I mean, like, because one of the things we heard about Vern Troyer was that all his friends said the happiest he was when he was at the conventions meeting his fans. And, you know, he was always happy. When he was at a show and he knew we were there, he always came up and said hello. He purchased 2 different sets of fangs from us at 2 different shows. And he was always joking. He took a bunch of pictures. Sarah Butler, who was in the remake of I Spit on Your Grave, and then I Spit on Your Grave Part 3, because apparently when you have a remake, you can make multiple sequels. There's a picture of her bending over going like this, and Vern's grabbing her ass pretending to bite it. And when I saw, a friend of mine sent me this picture, and the next time I saw her, I'm like, I've got to ask. And she goes, what? And I'm like, did Vern really grab your ass? She goes, oh, yeah.
You know, the first I Spit on Your Grave, the guy who played the killer, that was supposed to be like a well-known wrestler. And right before they started shooting, his agent was like, you're not doing that. That's going to kill your career. I forget who it was. So the guy who stepped in was one of the producers who later on used to run a film lab when they used to still develop film in New York City. And I think that's the only acting part. He just did it because there was nobody else, and he was a big dude. And it was sort of like by default but for years he used to run film labs. So every time we used to go to drop film to be developed. And
a wrestler was supposed to be in I Spit on Your Grave?
The first one. It was supposed to be somebody that was sort of well known. Not like high level, but
because the girl was the killer.
Yeah, well, the guy, like the
bad
ogre
guys,
looking guy.
Oh, because there were 3 of them. So that makes sense because they.
But his agent was like, "You're not doing that."
Well, yeah, I mean,
so the guy who was producing
to play
I forget the guy's name. I knew him.
I've seen movies where, like, you know, these people do terrible things, and there are certain things I've seen in movies that it just makes me wonder, how do you pitch this to someone? It's like, okay, I want you to do this to this type of person, and it's going to be really vulgar and violent. So basically, you're playing a rapist. And I've seen people, like, have phenomenal careers, but they've had that one movie. It's like, ooh, how did your career survive that? I mean, Kiefer Sutherland had that movie with Reese Witherspoon where he was... He was a rapist and a child pornographer, but also a college professor. And she ends up killing him.
That's an interesting double.
Yeah, right?
Yes,
you know,
Highway.
Yeah, okay.
I think it was Highway or something like that. I forget.
I haven't seen it since the 90s.
Yeah, I think the sequel to that was Dirt Road.
Like, it's over joking.
You're worse than the original.
I got nothing. Oh my god.
So you make not just fangs, you make lots of different teeth.
Yeah, lots of different styles.
I've seen some of them, but what, for example? I mean, you know, you make the single fangs at different sizes. You make the doubles.
Yep. The full mouthpiece, which is like what I wear.
Yeah.
You have different styles of movies because there are eye teeth, and then there's True Bloods, and True Bloods come straight down, but they have like this outer curve, like on the inside they come straight, and on the outside they have this nice curve to them. Then the Lost Boys, where it's almost like True Bloods, and then really tiny canines in the back. Then Underworlds, you have regular canines, and then the incisors come down and literally are just like, if you put them right next to each other, they make a triangle.
What are some weird ones? I've heard of some weird ones.
I have a guy who's known as the Green Orc, and he had these orc tusks made that were huge. And it's probably the thickest project I've ever made with the acrylic and everything. And somehow he broke them, but he's pretty rough, and he tends to drink a little heavy sometimes, and he's a fun guy though. I wouldn't say he has a drinking problem at all, but when he lets loose, and he's one of the most fun people to be around. Him and his wife, Scott and Deirdre, they're married with cosplay. You can look them up on Instagram. And this beautiful girl that we know, and her name slips my mind, but we do this show called Scares Like Care, and I'm wearing their t-shirt tonight. She came up and she wanted lady orc tusks, and it was just two single tusks. But she's like, I'm like, or she's like, well, I don't want the full thing. I'm like, okay. She goes, did you see Warcraft? I'm like, I know exactly which character you're talking about. I can't remember her name. I'm like, I know exactly which. And she popped them in, and she sent me a picture. I'm like, wow, I never thought a woman with tusks would look really beautiful. Very nice. The most common questions we get asked about the fangs are they permanent? No, they're not. What are they made out of? Dental acrylic, same thing your dentist uses. Does it hurt?
Only if you bite someone.
No, they asked like, does the process hurt?
You go to the dentist,
and I'm one of
hurts.
and I'm a jackass. So I'm just like, oh, terribly.
You should bring a mallet. And so we use anesthesia, don't worry.
But we have X-Acto knives, so they're like, does it hurt? I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Well,
What do you think?
I have a pair, and I know that they snap in like Legos.
Yeah, it's just
they
a cap that goes right over.
One
Snap
for
right
my
on.
wife.
Yeah.
Well, two, I should say. One pair.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. I know where you're going with this one.
I had a friend ask me to make him one long fang, just so it stuck out under his lip and came over his bottom lip. And he was working a booth with me. It was a Wizard World convention in Philly. And I'm like, why do you just want one? He goes, just wait. So he's waiting. About an hour goes by, and these girls come. He's like, are you a vampire? And he goes, nope, I'm a can opener. And he just walked in
He did it just
and I just looked at him like,
that's brilliant.
I was like, that is the most brilliant thing I've ever seen. All that for one joke. That was a 2-hour build-up. Yeah. Yeah, but I can guarantee you those girls remembered him.
It was like Shaky Green. He had one joke, and it was she worked out.
Well, I mean, the jokes, a lot of the jokes at our booth never get old. The oldest is, come over to our booth. Come to my booth. Let me put my tool in your mouth. Your so-and-so convention experience isn't complete unless we've been in your mouth. I even got away. I don't know how I got away with this, but this woman said her daughter's looking at the fangs. Her daughter was over the age of 18.
As far as you know.
No, this one wasn't. But I knew her mother. If I didn't know her mother, I wouldn't have said this. So I said, I'm like, come on, you know you want me in your daughter's mouth. And she just looked at me like, if I didn't know you, I'd slap you. I'm like, that's why I said it. But,
So that's why you wear that shirt, #me.
#me too. We were down in Georgia. And I found this shirt while I was on a quest for a specific item for a very close friend of mine. And I come across a shirt that says #me too, and I'm like, how much is that? And she goes, $5. I'm like, and then I find Vagina Warrior next to it. I'm like, she goes, $5. I'm like, and the Jason shirt, and she's like, $10 for you. I'm like, and I'm like, I found 2 shirts for next weekend. She goes, what show are you doing next weekend? I'm like, Exotica. So that's what I wore on Friday. But I'm sitting there because I always think about my business before I like doing. Even when I'm on social media, like someone will write something about politics or something, and it gets me riled, and I'll start delete. I'm like, no, I don't want any negative. I mean, with the way things currently are, I've installed a no political conversation allowed to be had in my booth. Break that rule all the time.
It's a lot smarter.
Well,
it's safer.
I never broke that rule.
We've all broken that rule. I just,
At least you have a rule.
Well, you know something? The thing is, I don't like stuff being shoved down anyone's throat, at least all my own.
It's not a political rally. It's a horror show.
Yeah,
convention.
well, no, we don't just do horror. We were at New York Comic Con this past year, and I went to the bathroom, and I'm sitting there, and I'm standing there peeing, and all I hear this guy going, I'm Trump pool, and I'm like, he goes, we're going to make Comic-Con great again. We're going to build a wall and separate anime from the Comic-Con, and I'm like, oh my God. And I finished up, and I was going to go up to him and punch him, because I was just so sick to death. I'm like, I just don't want to hear his name. I don't want to hear it. And I turn around and here he is wearing an American flag suit jacket over a Deadpool costume, the Deadpool mask with a blonde wig over it. And I wanted to go up to him. I'm like, I see Trump and Deadpool on an equal basis daily. You want to know the difference? I'm not fucking sick of Deadpool. But I didn't. I'm like, the kid's having fun. I'm like, I'm not gonna start a thing. So I just swallowed my joke and went back to my booth. So.
Sounded pretty funny.
Yeah, especially in the bathroom, the kid didn't wash his hands.
Oh yeah, he was like, guy was peeing, just walked right up to me and punched me. No, I'm like, wait right there. I'm gonna do this clean, all right? No, I did wash my hands.
That's a good thing since you're in everybody's mouths.
Well, the thing is, even if I wash my hands in the bathroom, when I go to the booth, people are going to assume that you went to the bathroom or wherever. I'm just like, and right in front of customers, I'm always using hand sanitizer. So one of these days, my hands are just going to fall right off. It's like, we're dry.
But you don't want to use gloves, I guess, right? Because you can't feel it.
With the acrylic, I can.
Yeah, because you don't feel it.
Yeah, well, that and I actually keep my thumbnails on the slighter longer side because it helps get the acrylic in the grooves in between the teeth. So, and I disinfect the molds before I touch them anyway, and I also coat my fingertips with Vaseline. That's because then the acrylic doesn't stick to your fingers. Because if I were to just touch the acrylic right now, I'd just go like this, and it would just be like chewing gum in your hand. He's the one that actually puts the bite plates in, well, hands it to the people. We don't touch anyone. We literally hand to them, and you put it in their mouth. They put it in their own mouth. Wow, did I mention I was working on 3.5 hours of sleep?
We tell them never to swallow.
I've never said this to a man before, but don't swallow.
Besides the plates, what else do you do?
He's my booth manager.
So what does a booth manager do?
When he's not there, I pretty much make sure that whoever's with us meet and greet the customer, make sure the customer's taken care of, take care of the money aspect, the computer.
Service the customer.
Make sure I do the impressions. I also have to do the molds too. I tape and I pour the molds for the impressions. So when the mold's done, I pretty much trim out the mold and I hand it to him, and then he does the fangs from there.
So how did the how do the conventions work? How do you get a booth and set up and?
So this is a unique type of business. Like everyone else, gets up, gets dressed, goes to work, and you get your paycheck at the end of the week or bi-weekly. I get paid at the end of the weekend, but I start every show in the hole. So you have to buy each table is X amount of dollars, and my business has grown to the point where, like a lot of shows, I start out with a 6 foot by 6 foot table, and we expanded past that. So like Monster Mania is coming up in the second weekend of March, and that I used to buy 2 12-foot tables there. Well, now I'm buying 3 6-foot tables, so I have 18 feet across, 6 feet deep, 16 feet deep. Holy shit. New York Comic Con, I can only afford 1 table because it's really expensive. But we get a 10 by 10. But instead of when you have a small show and you can't, when you have a small booth at a big show and you can't build out, you build up. So we put the grid walls up higher. We hang everything. We have that stupid little clamp arm. So basically, it's word of mouth. Someone tells you about a show, you go on the internet, or if you know the people, you just call them. It's like, send me the link. I need to buy a booth at your table. I need to buy a booth at your table. Wow, we need to buy a booth at your show. You guys have to come to me right after a week of complete and utter stress, and probably this time tomorrow night we'll just be finishing up setting up our booth at the Philadelphia Tattoo Convention.
Wow. So what's the variation between like cost of tables? Like
Bigger the
between
show, bigger the cost.
Yeah.
I'd say New York Comic Con is the most expensive show I do. One of the shows that's equal, but we get a break on the table because we don't sell any adult merchandise. When we do Exotica, if you buy a table there, and you're in the adult entertainment field, your booth is considerably higher. They reached out to me in 2014. They're like, you have a good reputation. We want something different at our show. And I'm like, well, all right. And we went out to Chicago. Then we've done 3 years in New Jersey. And this April, we're going out to Chicago. And we have to make a decision in October because the Walker Stalker in Atlanta, which is like the biggest one out of the whole year, and they're mixing it up with Game of Thrones this year. So that's the same weekend as Exotic in New Jersey. Now, it'll cost me both the same amount of money. It's just like one's 35 minutes from my house. I get to stay home. The other is 13 hours away from my house. We can crash with a friend. So it's like, do all that traveling, take a risk, stay home. Still, I mean, every show's a risk. You never know whether you're going to be able to make money. This Exotica was phenomenal because we got people like Bonnie Rotten came to us. That was one of his favorites. I don't say this to many men, but you're a freak. I love you. Because I'm not really big on porn, so I don't really watch it. So I'm like, Bonnie Rotten, I'm like, okay, I like the spiderweb tattooed boobs. Okay, I look her up and I'm like, I watched about 3 minutes. I called him and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? You know it's bad if I'm saying what the But then the creme de la creme, because he had to go home because home early, but I had a huge crew. It's funny. Every other show throughout the year, I have a hard time getting people to commit and actually do the show. Exotic comes out of the blue. Everybody and their brother wants to do this show. They want to be at this show.
I wonder why.
Yeah,
It's a big secret.
yeah, but it's not just the guys. It's even the girls want to do it too. But it's literally, we're closing up, and my friend Jose, who's done a lot of movies and stuff. He was one of the Latino guys in the TV show Oz.
Oh, okay.
And
My
he
friend
comes.
said it then.
Yeah, he's awesome. He comes up to me. He goes, "Yo, I got one more. You got time for one more customer?" And I'm like, we're literally putting the tarp up. I'm like, who is it? And he goes, "Yo, my man Coolio wants to get a pair of fangs." I'm like, Coolio. He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, Gangsta Paradise Coolio. He goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, I turn around, I'm like, open up the booth! Open it back up! And he comes over, and we're all just like, this is really happening. And then he goes, I'm like, this is awesome because we're gonna see you at.
Okay, what happened?
Just mute that. My computer woke up. I don't know why. It's weird.
You mentioned Coolio.
Yeah, so he said, I said, we're going to see you in 2 weeks because you're going to be at Days of the Dead in Chicago. And he goes, yo, can you just bring me my fangs there? And I'm like, sure. So I get home and we're making them. And the mold broke while I was making them. I'm like, oh, no. Oh, God, no. We get there. He puts them in, and he smokes a lot of weed. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it in any way, shape, or form. I'm just going to be blunt. He smokes a lot of weed. He broke them twice trying to put them.
Oh, no.
When he goes, well, I need these by 8 o'clock for the Dracula 2000, Dracula 3000 photo op. And I'm like, okay. I just made them extra thick. He pops them. He's like, okay, cool. And I'm like, wow, no pressure. Oh, my God. And that show was cool because we're actually friends with the guy who plays Art the Clown in The Terrifier, and he came and got fangs from us at that show, too. So that
Wasn't the same one with Jenna Elfman?
No, that was Horror Hound.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
So
you have a pretty good mix of regular attendees, I guess, and then celebrities. And
yeah,
actors.
certain shows we do, certain celebrities will always make a point to come over and say hello, which is, once again, it's just that surreal feeling. It's like, okay, awesome. But we also have people who go out of their way. They'll buy their tickets. They'll come to the show, and they'll make a direct line right to our booth. And it goes, "You're always our first stop." And I'm like, "Cool. You gonna buy anything?" And they're like, "No, we'll be right back." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then there's like, "That's what I want." I'm like, "Here you go."
So what do you sell besides making fangs, obviously? But.
The fangs, we sell horror show bears and other twisted creations. So basically, I craft bears into like Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Leatherface, and then just all sorts of deranged creatures. I have one. It's drying actually up in the attic right now. I literally I had this wire from something that I was throwing away. So I'm like, I know I can do something with the wire. And I've been on this Hellraiser kick lately where I want to make these tortured soul type bears. So I literally have the wire going in and out its chest, through its eye, and all over its body. And it's drenched in blood. So,
What kind of audience do you have for that?
very broad, actually. Mm-hmm. Some shows the fangs do. Excuse me. Some shows the fangs do really well. Some show the bears do really well, and then you have my personal favorite shows where everything does really well, and then Pack Up on Sunday is like, all right, we're done, let's go home. I sell Karina's artwork. She paints a lot of the bears and helps me make them, and she has prints that she has drawn up, and I accidentally and more coincidentally, fell into selling rare Godzilla collectibles, because I'd say about 4 or 5 years ago, I'm an avid collector, as you can see from behind me. My distributor sent me a couple extras, so I'm like, put them on the table, see what happens. I can get some money from them. They were gone right away, so got a couple more doubles. Next thing I know, I started having this little section. Now it's like a main thing. We have a DVD player, a portable DVD player in the middle of them, and we play a movie, and it just draws attention right to that, and warms my heart when like the little kids come in and know everything that we know. They're naming the year, the movie. I'm like look at their parents. I'm like, all right, well done.
Parenting done right.
Yep.
So it's like a Vermont teddy bear company with blood.
Yeah, right?
You should stop.
Death Valley Teddy Bear Company.
Why not? You can mail order this stuff.
Horror Show Bear Company.
Horror Show Bears. There you go. You better patent that before people see it in the studio.
Oh, I already have the copyrights for everything anyway. So.
Now a major motion picture.
Yeah.
More money than Daredevil.
Now, before people get the idea that they can come to your booth and work for you and just hang out with celebrities all day, because I've seen people work at your booth, and I know what they do, but basically, how do you get people to work at your booth? What do they have to do? You know,
it's that getting people to work at the booth is it's a mixture of how I get my business. It's word of mouth, and it's some people come up to me and go, "I want to work for you." Other people, a lot of them are our friends. You know, it's just a rotating staff, because I know working for me right now, it's still a small company, no matter how broad my name reaches out to. But you know, the compensation there. People are start out with just sales, and because you gotta feel them out. Because if you tell people, I've learned in the past, it's like, I'll give you X amount of dollars if you work, and then they show up late and they don't put in any effort, and they want their money, and sometimes they'll ask for more, and I was like, you can go pound sand, I don't care. I mean, you did nothing. You didn't even show up Saturday, or you left Sunday, so you don't do the job, you don't get the money. It's basically the rules of what I was taught at my haunted house. Is like, if you don't work all 3 days, you do not get paid for that weekend. And I'm like, harsh but effective. So I mean, but also if an emergency happens or because people get sick, I understand. But courtesy, which is so rare in this world, just let me know. And we have quite a few horror stories. Excuse the pun, but we've also had quite a few awesome superstars. Our friend Caitlin, my friend Bobby, Taylor, and Morgan that work different shows with us. I mean, Karina, Matt's the superstar. Matt has taken over Karina's status at the booth, but he's got to hang in there for 4 years to beat her record. She has the longest running.
Longest tolerance.
You mean just under
Yeah.
4 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not as good looking.
No, I accept that. I accept that.
Honestly.
I accept that. That's fine. That's why. Well, you take a good look at us. This is why I prefer to have attractive women as our salespeople, not because I want sexy woman go over there. No, I mean they do. They are attention grabbing, yes, but I also want a woman with a functional brain. I don't want some dumb bimbo or some floozy that doesn't know what the hell she's doing. Because, and the same for if a guy works for me, it doesn't matter. But you have to have a wherewithal, and if you don't know, if a customer asks you a question you don't know, tell me. Ask me. Ask us. One of us are always there. And some people don't. Some people make. And 9 times out of 10, so many mistakes can be fixed right away. Nothing is set in stone until the person even after the person walks away from the booth. I mean, if they bought a bear, it's a different story. We don't take their info, but we take their molds and we take all their info so we can text them. Biggest problem with that is like when someone says to you, I'll ask both of you, and before I give you the correct answer, I want to know what you would think. Someone asks you to fill out your complete address. What are you going to write down?
Well, a lot of kids today don't even know how to address the envelope. That's the problem. So they don't know how to.
Right.
Do
Well, they don't. It's not filling an out. It's not filling an
envelope.
envelope.
You need to know. You need your name, your address, the zip code. And
Yeah.
half the time they don't
Some
know.
people will just put a street.
Yes.
I've had some
Very
people
good.
put a
Oh,
street
I've
with
seen
no number, no house number, just a street, and half a phone number. So I get home and I make the fangs, and I just put question mark and I leave it there and I wait for this. It's been 2 months and I haven't gotten my fangs. What show was it? And then they finally figure it out. Sometimes they have to call me back. So I look them up. I'm like, oh yeah. Well, sir or madam, because when it comes to stupidity, the sexes are equal. Absolutely, hands down.
You might want to make it easy for them. Make sure you have a form that has name, last.
We do.
Oh, you do. This still
Yes.
true.
Oh yeah.
And this
Yeah.
still-
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We even say full address, street, city, zip code, state, phone number, full name. Some people just write half a name. Now you can still put whatever, and it'll still go to the person.
Yeah,
But-
but share.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Madonna.
But so I'm like, yeah, well, I'm looking at it. I'm like, I don't have a complete address. Well, I put my street address. I'm like, yeah, what house number are you? It's not on there. I'm like, no. Oh well, I was really drunk when I came here. And that is the thing. We've had people come stumbling in our booth, that bombed off their ass, and they'll drop a shitload of money on an order, and I'll just look at who's ever working with me. I'm like, they're not getting their refund tomorrow when they sober up and realize how much money they spent. You paid me to do a business. That's it. End of story. But actually, the one time that happened, it was at a really slow show, and this is like 6-7 years ago. And when these people came, I'm like, wow, this was the sale that put us over the mark and put us into the is it the red or the black? I can't remember.
Black.
Yeah, put us into the profit margin, whatever. And I'm like, oh god, they're gonna come back tomorrow and give me a hard time. They show up halfway through these. Are fangs done? And I'm like, yes. Here you go. They're like, thank you. And I'm like, you guys all right? Little hungover. Why are you yelling? So,
How does the fang making work at a convention? How often do you make them there?
Yeah.
How many of them do you make there? How many will you?
It depends.
Mail?
A lot of it comes. A lot of it will come under procrastination. Some shows you get sidetracked because I'm on the road almost every weekend, and it's not just my professional life; it's also my social life. So a lot of these shows, like when I do a show in Ohio, I only get to see certain people once a year, and these people, you form a bond with a lot of these people, and when you go to a show and they don't show up, something's missing. It's like, oh my God, I didn't see you and your wife. What is everything okay? Yeah, we had to work or we couldn't make it. It's like, okay, just as long as everything's all right. Because nowadays you never know. It's like, oh, did they die? It's like when you're going through your Facebook and you clearing people out and you realize, wow, they haven't posted anything since 2016. And then that thought hits you. Did they die? But yeah,
People think I'm dead because
I'm glad you're not. But no, he takes the molds, and that's another role of the booth manager is he can answer almost any question a customer can come up to us with. Same thing with the people that are working. The sales girls know the majority of anything, but there's always customers that want to talk to the person who's making the actual thing. So now I have to stop what I'm doing. And it's a time process. Like if you mix the acrylic is like a putty at first, and almost like a liquid. So you have to wait till it hits one time of the solidification process, mold it on, take the excess away, mold the other one, because I'll make multiple fangs at a time, and then you have to pay attention, because once they solidify, you have to get them right before they get completely too hard and they bond to the mold, because then you pull it off, the tooth comes there and it's stuck inside the fang, and there you're with an X-Acto knife and you're trying to scrape it out, and then the fang breaks and you stab your finger, and 6 of your friends look at you like, are you okay? And you're holding your finger like this, and you just throw your X-Acto knife down and push your seat back and go, all right, that's it, I quit, because I was having a really bad day. My friend looks at me, and the simplest offer of kindness completely changed my attitude. She goes, do you need a Band-Aid? I'm like, do you have one? Because I went deep. Literally, I'm just like trying to get a little excess out. It wasn't even a full break. Just there was some stone inside, and I'm just like, click, boom. Like I pulled it out, and you saw how deep it went. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be bad.
Drop a super glue. Done.
I didn't have any super glue at that point in time.
what's your favorite show? Do you have one that you like more than others?
That's rough. That's a tough question to ask, because each show.
Remember, they're all watching.
I know. Each show I enjoy for different reasons.
Well, just name a couple of them.
Shows that are literally like it's not just a show. I'm hanging out with family. Is definitely the show run by my friend Joe Ripple is Scares That Care. They're a charity organization that help terminally ill children, and they collect money for one woman they choose and pay for their breast cancer.
Let's give them a plug since they're doing something. Where is the show? What
that one's in Williamsburg, Virginia. I think it's the first weekend of August. Just look up Scares That Care on the internet. That has all the details on it. As I spoke about Exotica, that is a fun show. You do not. Well, you know what? You don't even really have to be into that stuff to enjoy it. It's literally just like a party, and I'm not talking just because women walk around in scantily clad outfits, because you think porn stars are just these sex crazed, brainless hoes, and that is so far from the truth for a lot of them. There are some that fit the bill perfectly to the stereotype, but there's a lot of them. They're very intelligent. Like Katie Morgan is actually a genius. She is very intelligent. She's a businesswoman.
Well, if you think it is a business.
Oh yeah, Monster Mania is another fun one. One of my favorite horror conventions out of all of them is Horror Hound, just the one in Cincinnati. They have a couple. The others are just as fun, but there's just something about the one in Cincinnati. It falls towards the middle or end of March, so you're just coming out of winter, and that is the show. It's like spring's on its way. Just had a lot of fun. It's like, yeah.